Are we up and going? All right. So it's a few minutes after 6. I apologize. We had to get everybody seated and ready. So I'd like to call this meeting of the Edgefield County Council meeting to order. We appreciate everybody being here tonight. I hope everyone had a happy Labor Day. Tonight, we're going to start with the invocation. And then, and I do want to mention first, though, by the way, Taz Potts is sitting in tonight for our clerk, Aretha Eubanks. So that's a change there just for tonight, I think. So with that, we'll start with the invocation and the pledge. If everyone will please stand. Heavenly Father, we gather here tonight with thankful hearts. We're thankful that you allow us to be here and to be able to participate in this kind of meeting, Lord. And we thank you for giving us life to enjoy every day. Lord, we pray for wisdom that can only come from you as we run this meeting. Lord, we ask you to bless this council, our staff, and our citizens as we engage in solving issues to make our county better. And Lord, we pray for your many, many blessings to continue. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. If you hadn't had a chance to sign in, please do so. If you want to speak at one of the public comment periods, please make sure you sign up for that too. Council, next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. We're going to have two changes tonight. The first change is our public hearing on ordinance 2526-001. We did not advertise that in enough time. There's a certain amount of time you have to advertise. We didn't make it. So we're going to pull that from the agenda as the public hearing. However, that public hearing also, if you look under old business number 2, also appears there. The council will discuss giving this ordinance second reading, and we'll have third reading and the public hearing in the November meeting, which will give us enough time to advertise this. And also, for those who came to speak at the public hearing, you can still speak in the first public comment section, because that section is for items on the agenda, and that is on the agenda. So, council, that's one change, just simply pulling the public hearing from this meeting. The second change is new business number 1. For tonight, we want to make sure everything was lined up for this one, making sure everybody was here and such. So we're going to pull that one from the agenda, new business number 1, the resolution, the renaming of the field. And we will take that up in the October meeting. So no new business number 1 and no public hearing. Are there any other changes we need to make to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
I believe Mr. Talbert made the motion, maybe Dr. Kenyon, I think, seconded. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. We're going to start with the special recognition you see on the agenda. So I'll ask the administrator if he'll please tell us about this employee of the quarter.
Thank you. So our employee of the quarter is Vernay Martin of the Treasurer's Office, and I'd like to read the recommendation from Joe Knight, our county treasurer. It says, I started 2 years ago trying to fill in the shoes of the retired treasurer who had presided in this position for 20 plus years. As I continuously learned to evolve, to fit and succeed in this large role for the county, I have had assistance from my fellow employees in various fields. Vernay Martin, the deputy treasurer, has not only helped as a coworker, but as a friend. I can contend with absolute certainty that there has never been anyone more valuable to someone in my position as Vernay Martin is to me. Vernay's knowledge is not limited to the confines of her role. She has been the prime guide for many who need long-standing questions answered or new ideas considered, whether it be a transaction for a customer or information for a coworker. I have seen Vernay take the steps needed to help him or her in any possible way she can. She handles all of this expertly while balancing her own duties as deputy treasurer. These daily occurrences do not throw her off balance or schedule, but clearly show that she can adapt to the situation, find the solution, and push through for the person needing aid with an unprecedented efficiency. Vernay's role here in the treasurer's office, both work-wise and personality-wise, encapsulate what we need in today's work environment. Someone that can not only help customers, but help employees learn and grow. Her smile brings light to any room she walks in, and her mind brings newfound approaches that just might be what you are looking for.
Okay, well, congratulations to Bernie. Now, if Bernie will come up so we can have a picture made, and I think we have something over here.
The write-up referenced your smile, so you're gonna have to smile.
Congratulations to Bernie, and thank y'all. And I don't mind, you would leave, I'd leave too if I didn't have to sit here. All right, next, council, is the public comment period. I'll ask our clerk if she wouldn't mind bringing us the list of those who signed up to speak during the first public comment period. I'll remind those who signed up that this public comment period is for items on the agenda. So if you want to speak, this has to be something that's on the agenda. If you want to speak on something not on the agenda, you would sign up for the second public comment period. And as a reminder, as you see in the small print there, this is a limited time, so you have 5 minutes. The clerk will tell you when you're at 4 minutes and when you're at 5 minutes, and you have 5 minutes. So with that, we will start. Let me see. The first person who signed up is Hallenberg. Am I saying that right? Barry? Please tell us where you live. And
Good evening. I live at 45 Brim Oak Road in Trenton. And I and many other Trenton citizens of Edgefield County have repeatedly asked why a myriad of county ordinances, regulations, and comprehensive plans, etc., have languished for years without being updated or codified. And the answer is always, well, these things take time, or we're so understaffed, or we don't have that expertise on our staff, or most frequently we hear, unfortunately, our hands are tied. And yet, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, changes to ordinances such as 25-26-001, Chapter 24, Sections 252 and 285, which take the initial approval power away from the County Planning Commission and give it to one man, one reliable man. It was rushed through, and tonight's hearing that was scheduled for this evening would have been without the planning commissions even getting a chance to provide an input. And another citizen wanted to speak but has been denied the right to by this county government. And he was offended by the misuse of his last name, even though the county knows him quite well. And Mr. Moody and Mr. Burt and others have referred to him and his organization as very professional. He has been told that he is not allowed to speak to any council or commission members, even as individuals. How is it legal in the United States of America for you to gag an honest citizen? How can you legally prevent him from lawfully and peacefully participating in his own local government? And is the freedom of speech only a right for those citizens who go along with the county officials currently in power? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll ask the administrator and the assistant administrator for two things. One, make sure you're taking notes so we can come back to this in the ordinance. Second, I want to clarify something right now. As far as the attorney knows and the administrator knows, has anybody been denied chance to speak to us?
No one has requested to come to this meeting and speak, and I told them they could not. I'm not aware of anything like that.
The only person I spoke to has been an attorney who is representing some parties, and I told them to come through me before they spoke to the administrator that represent the county.
So for clarity, we disagree with your statement and be happy to talk to you about it anytime you want to talk about it. I don't know anybody who's been denied. And if they are, then we'll get to the bottom of it. Next is Stephen Helms, I think.
Evening, Council.
And please tell us where you live.
Yeah, my name's Steve Helms. I live on, at 108 Sable Lane. Okay. And just want to say I'm totally against the proposed changes to ordinance 25-26-001. This effort again undermines our faith and confidence in democratic rule of law by having one person making the initial decision on land development. The Planning Commission has repeatedly shown that they have the citizens and Edgefield environment best interest at heart. These efforts also parallels what you did back in February of 2024 when you changed 24-248, 251, 252, and 286 in reaction to the Trestle Run lawsuit to protect the county from future land developer lawsuits. Again, by giving one man sole authority to approve land development applications. These actions are not in the best interest of the citizens of Edgefield County. It's amazing how fast you can move on an ordinance change to your own benefit, but don't show the same vigor and speed on protecting Edgefield County citizens by codifying the comprehensive plan, nor impose a land development moratorium on the RV park land development until 2479 ordinance revision are in place. Time and time again, Edgefield County government is clearly showing you are pro-developer and not pro-citizen. The citizens of Edgefield County elected you, not the land developers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Jim Thomas.
Good evening. Good evening. Jim Thomas. I am property owner at 98 Brim Oak. Tonight you are scheduled to hold a second reading and public hearing for ordinance 25-26-001, which would amend sections 252 and 285 of the county's land development regulations. However, this ordinance has several procedural flaws that prevent the council from proceeding. In fact, our organization's attorney sent a letter to the county attorney explaining the legal deficiencies with ordinance 25-26-001. Regrettably, the county attorney did not pull this item from tonight's agenda, although I think you amended that at the beginning, right? Despite knowing all these problems and their consequences under the law. So we now turn to council and formally request that action on this ordinance be postponed until all legal notice and procedural requirements are met. Procedural and notice rules are essential for public transparency, accountability, and legal validity of government actions. Following them ensures the public is informed and able to participate and upholds everyone's rights under the law. Edgefield County did not follow key legal procedures for ordinance 25-26-001. First, it failed to provide at least 30 days public notice of the hearing as required by state law. Second, the Planning Commission was not given a chance to review or recommend the ordinance violating county ordinance and depriving council of important input. Third, the latest version of the ordinance includes major changes that were not adopted in a public meeting as required by state law. In summary, council cannot proceed with ordinance 25-26-001 because required notice, Planning Commission review, and public meeting procedures have not been met. Ignoring these steps risks invalidating the ordinance and undermines public trust. We urge council to delay action until all proper procedures, including notice, review, and open meetings, are followed. Thank you very much.
Jeff Allen,
You want a copy of it?
it's up to you. We can add it to the minutes if you want to give it to our clerk.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Allen, Trenton, Sable Lane. I just wanted to speak briefly against this amendment. This is to no disrespect to Mr. Clark. My brief experience with him is he's a very knowledgeable person. So I don't mean to add of that, but the citizenry would like to have a say, and we'd like to have a body that is representing us and that is responsive to us. So I think the opportunity from my experience recently of being able to go to the Planning Commission and express our concerns and have some representation at that stage is really important to us as citizens. And so I request that we keep that process. I understand that there's been some issues where maybe the ordinances weren't crystal clear and you ended up in court and you say, hey, why don't we just simplify this and we can have one person and they can say, hey, are we gonna, is this gonna hold up in court? Is this not gonna hold up in court? What do we do? We don't wanna have the Planning Commission make one decision and end up in a problem. And my advice would be, well, why not just change the ordinances to make them more clear and more in accordance with what the citizenry of Edgefield County clearly wants. And I think if the ordinances are vague to where you get in a situation of maybe the Planning Commission who's following the wishes of the citizens, creates a problem where then the Planning Commissioner says, well, I don't know if that's necessarily to the law, or maybe it's not, it's a little bit vague. Let's just get these ordinances crystal clear, because there's a lot of things that are happening in the county that I think you can tell the citizenry doesn't want. So that would be my recommendation, would be to focus on getting the ordinances right. So then I'd like to leave with one question was, if this was to pass and you were to make that change, would this take effect prior to a lot of the other rezoning ordinances, like the RV ordinances? Would that take effect before those RV discussed ordinances would be in effect?
Go ahead and answer that question, if you would.
So it would depend on which one of them received third reading first. However, in terms of the RV part that you're most concerned with, it would have no effect as land development regulations are not retroactive.
No, I understand, but they could then pull that and then reapply.
If they chose
Of
to
course.
pull it.
Of course,
Right.
but we don't know what's going on with all this stuff. All we know is the entire county is against this, and we would like to see the wishes of the citizenry reflected. So I would just say that, like, I understand, like, I mean, the person whose job this is obviously very capable. So I get that, but I would highly recommend that we focus the process on getting the ordinances right that reflect the will of the county before trying to change the process to cut the citizenry out of the process.
Okay, thank you. All right, council, that's the last person who signed up for the first public comment period. So I will close that public comment period and move to reports. Any questions or comments from council on the reports? Hearing none, we will move now to old business. We'll take up old business number 1, consideration of approval of third reading of ordinance 24-25-011, an ordinance to amend the Edgefield County zoning map to include changes for the newly created Rural Agriculture Land Preservation Zoning District. We've been talking about this for months, so I'll ask the administrator, is there anything else we need to know about this ordinance?
There have been no changes, no new information. Thank you.
No recommendations to do anything different? Okay. Council, any questions or comments on this ordinance?
Yes, I have just a couple, not a couple, just maybe one. We did have a large contingency come last meeting to speak to us. It seemed clearly there was some confusion as to the intent and what this was about. Following that, several left. I'm just interested to know, have y'all heard, and Doc, have you as well, have you heard from anyone regarding this since that meeting? Have any of those reached out to you? Have you had any more contact?
Speaking for myself, no one that was at that meeting that had any concerns has reached out.
Okay.
And I'll defer to Doc after the public hearing last month. has anyone who left the meeting early and didn't hear the recommendations or the actual process reached out to you?
One lady that stayed during it has talked to me since, but nobody that left has.
Okay, so we felt like everyone must have gotten settled, then everyone got their issues addressed one way or the other. We haven't heard back from them, is my point.
Yeah, well, I had one person send me an email and said they went back and watched the video and explained it, and
Okay.
they were good with it.
They seem,
So-
everybody was good. I just would like to
But
public.
I have no way of knowing if one of the people who got up and left early,
And not even that, has anyone else have you had any more contact from anyone about it, I guess? It's also my question.
I have not.
Okay, and that's what I would like to add to it. I've had one person call for just a brief conversation about it. And so while we had a lot of people turn out,
now I have had one call today from Tim Campbell regarding the zoning map itself. But I told him, you know, it's in third reading, there's nothing procedurally I can do for it, and we set up a meeting, he's gonna come talk to me about it. But what was explained about RA, no, I have not had anybody new reach out to me about it.
okay, no other issues from all. That's, just wanted to clarify. I know we have been touching base, but just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments from council on this ordinance? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to give third reading to ordinance 24-25-011?
So moved.
Mr. Moody makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Talbot seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, under old business, is consideration of approval of second reading of ordinance 25-26-001, an ordinance to amend Chapter 24 Land Development, Sections 252, Land Development Other Than Subdivision, and 285, County Planning Administrator of the Edgefield County Code of Ordinances. So I will turn to the administrator, and let's talk about some changes we might want to make here.
Thank you. So, as voted on in first reading, we had the change of Planning Commission to Planning Administrator in Section 252B1, and I want to speak a little more about that in a moment. The other changes that were made since the first reading were simply giving a plain language reading to the rest of the document. We have received a lot of confusion. People would ask me, what does this mean? What do these words mean? Does it mean Planning Commission reviews first, Planning Administrator reviews first? What we wanted to do is simply make that more readable for people. And I think that's what we did. And I'll walk through a summary of that in a moment. But what I did want to say is, first off, the statement that we have turned anyone away from coming to a public meeting and speaking. They certainly have not talked to me or any of my staff that's informed me about that. I can't imagine doing that. I don't know where that came from. So I would invite them to come speak if they have something to say. The other thing is all the earlier changes a year and a half or so ago, I think February 24 maybe, were referenced by a speaker. And then later it was said that the Planning Commission has given no input to these changes. That is simply not true. This changing the Planning Commission to the Planning Administrator in this one sentence was discussed by the Planning Commission. This was part of their wholesale change of the ordinance. Staff made an error by not replacing those two words as intended. If you read the entire document, you clearly see that the Planning Commission was to make the recommendation. The Planning Administrator would take that under consideration and issue a decision. That's very clear. It's clear throughout all the meetings. And that was a staff error. That's on us. We did not replace those two words. So we're going back to fix that now, but to say the Planning Commission had no role in that decision, this is what they recommended to council. I would also like to say that people are saying, hey, we're taking all the authority away from the Planning Commission. nothing's further from the truth. The Planning Commission has final appeal authority on any land development decision here. That's just a fact. I'll go through the process as we tried to outline in clear language. The Planning Commission will hold a hearing on a land development application, an initial application. They will make recommendation. The planning administrator will make a decision. There will then be a public hearing scheduled, so the public can be heard after initial decision, but before any final decision. After the public hearing, the Planning Commission will render their opinion on the development, provide that to the planning administrator. The planning administrator will take the recommendation of the Planning Commission and what he has heard from the public hearing, and he will make a decision. Any interested party or the landowner may appeal that decision to the Planning Commission. They can override the planning administrator. That is in state law. That is just a fact. Now, they have to have a reason. They have to have a reason based on the ordinances. They can't, base it on their opinion, how they look at the development. But for any reason under the ordinance, they can fine for either the landowner or any interested party. So I just wanted to be clear, the Planning Commission made these decisions long ago. We made an error in the ordinance language. We're correcting that, and we're trying to clear up the language with plain language. And that is the subject of the amendment, is adding this clarifying language. And if you will turn to Exhibit 2, just behind the ordinance, it will be the third page, beginning on the third page and going through the second page, you can see the language in red that was added just to make it clear and easy for an applicant to understand or the general public to understand.
Correct. It would also be the items that are underlined. Those are also changes, not
That's
just
right.
the red. The red were my suggested changes. The underlined was staff's suggested
That's right.
changes.
And then what will be removed is struck through. And then immediately behind that is a pure black type version of the changes. Behind that black type version, you will find one change on section 285, highlighted in yellow and underlined, with a black type version immediately behind it as well.
Anything else you need to tell us before we ask questions?
Ask away.
All right, if I can, let me start, if I can ask a couple of questions. On section 24-285, the one change there that's highlighted in yellow, what's the effect of that change? Why would we make that change so people understand?
So it's just clarifying language. So as you see under B, the planning administrator shall have final local decision-making authority on the following matters. Subsection 6 says all other sections of this section and applications that require approval and/or interpretation by the planning administrator. Is just making clear that land development specifically are part of those other sections.
Mr. Chairman, my reasoning to put that in was so that we would incorporate section 252 directly into that.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Questions from council? I did have at least a couple others then. So for Mr. Clark, so does this change how we do public hearings at the Planning Commission level?
It does.
In what way?
So right now, what we have is a preliminary hearing, which is what we just recently had that sparked most of this. And then you have a final hearing. typically, if the planning commission approves, the actual applicant does not go back to the planning commission. So the public hearing is in the preliminary approval stage. This changes it to where they will have one meeting and the planning commission will be able to be introduced to the item before a public hearing. All of those documents, if it's not, flagrantly against zoning, and then I'll kill it on the spot if it is. But if it proceeds to the next step, which is to go get their engineering done, get their, DES, get their environmental approvals or whatever else they may need, then they'll hold a public hearing once all that information is known, and the planning commission gets to see it again with all that information had. And that way, by the time they get to the actual final approval, there are no more questions. The applicant's due process is complete at that stage. All questions are answered. And the reason that is a superior choice is because as it stands right now, we, the county, have to give the applicant due process. Meaning during the preliminary hearing, the planning commission has expressed concerns. Well, none of the engineering or fact-finding had been done at that stage. It would be illegal of us to not let them answer those questions. So doing it all as we are now, where it's all in the preliminary and it's rushed basically, does not give that due process. So one way or the other, we have to bring the applicant back so that he can answer those questions. This process makes it more streamlined, and they get their introduction, then they get the fact finding and be able to answer those questions or concerns that they have, and then a final decision is made. So it extends the process a little bit.
But it puts in the public hearing in the second part of this process, which is when all the information is known and the public can make better public comments, I guess, because they would have,
That's
in
correct.
theory, DOT, DES, all those important.
Other approvals, traffic studies, whatever might be required for that particular development. And there are other types of developments that have even more. I mean, look at a rock quarry, for example. They have endangered species requirements and, delineation requirements and all these other sorts of things that have to be gathered. This gives the planning commission the ability to have that public hearing after those things are known.
Other questions from council?
I've gotten a lot of calls on this, and I think people are thinking we're rewriting the ordinance that was passed last year. And all we're doing is replacing a word for clarification that should have been there. So we're not rewriting the ordinance. And I think people are thinking, the ones that call me, is just like Doc said, they're doing away with the public hearing. No, we're moving it to a different location in the way things are working. And the planning commission still have their votes, and they still have their right to appeal, and the public still has a right to appeal. So, and like David said, it goes a circle. It goes to that full circle. And so I just think the confusion came about is one word is gotten out there that we're rewriting the ordinance, and we're not. It's the same ordinance that got passed last year at 3-2 vote, and one word did not get transferred over to the document that was filed in the courthouse. So it's the same document we've had for a year and a half. So we're just trying to correct that one word.
And under section D1, it says public hearing. Upon submission of all required documentation and permits, a public hearing shall be held before the planning commission. It has not been removed. It's in there right before the final decision.
And if I can even condense it down to the following, and tell me if I say anything wrong, and I know there's a lot of steps in here, but I'm going to generalize for a moment. An applicant comes, they go before the planning commission hears whatever it is, but the preliminary is really looking at the zoning, right? Mostly, it's the zoning. So the planning commission hears it, they can vote yes or no, let's just say unanimously yes, unanimously no, or some other vote. You get to make the decision. If it fits the zoning, it can go on for further due process, meaning DOT, DES, and engineering studies, all traffic study, all the stuff you talked about. And then when it comes back, if any of those groups have said no, it doesn't meet it, then we could deny it. You could deny it, right? But then the planning commission still gets a second bite of the apple if it's appealed to them from the from the person who brought the original application.
And I just for clarity's sake, I'll just say that most of the time when a land development gets to the planning commission, people don't realize that they've already been talking to staff for months ahead of time. And if there is a actual text-based problem from the get-go, such as it's straight up not permitted by the zoning, then of course we tell them, you have very little chance of getting this approved. It does not meet our requirements. And 9 out of 10 times, the application is pulled at that point. They don't even proceed to get to the planning commission. So a lot of people have accused the planning commission of rubber stamp, but that is 100% not the case. It's just that most of the time, that development or developer has already, anything that would be wrong has already been fixed before they get there, except for, you know, things that will only be discovered in engineering or studies. That being said, if at any time they're not meeting the requirement, then I can issue a denial straight away. But what I can't do is deny them the right to talk to the planning commission. If they make an application to talk to the planning commission, no matter what my decision is, they have the right to talk to the planning commission. I can't prevent that. And within 60 days of them discussing it, some final written decision has to be rendered or it gets automatically approved by state law. And there's nothing I can do about that other than ask them to either extend it or be prepared for my ruling. So that's kind of where a lot of people get confusion is, you know, if I push things that are on a timeline, it's because I'm running up against a deadline that's in the state law, and not all developers will agree to extend that deadline. So I have to issue an opinion. But I can't tell somebody that they can't talk to the planning commission.
Other questions or comments from council? Okay, hearing none. Council, we'll have to do this in 2 steps because all the information changed in 24-252 and 24-252, yeah. So all the information is, not all, but the amendments are here. So we're going to have a motion, a second, then we'll have to do an amendment to accept all this. So with that, is there a motion to approve, wait a minute, let me get the right ordinance number, I'm sorry. Ordinance number 25-26001.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Talbot makes the motion. Is there a second?
So moved.
You'll second then. All right, Ms. Ireland seconds. So we're in discussion. And so under discussion, unless somebody has something else to discuss, we're gonna, I need a motion to amend this ordinance to include all the changes that we have been presented by the staff, we've been over them all. So the ones that were presented to us that are in here that you can look at, is there a motion to amend the ordinance to include these changes?
So moved.
Mr. Moody makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And Dr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, if you're in favor of the amendment, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We're back to the main motion. Any discussion, final discussion on this ordinance? The only thing I will say under discussion for our speakers tonight, for our speakers last time, for those watching, for those reading about this, if you have any recommendations from what you see, I would suggest getting them particularly to our staff, but you're welcome to send them to us too. Be happy to receive those because I think these are the changes that mostly what I heard tonight, but you can be the judge of that. If there's no more discussion, all those in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to state a couple things.
Sure.
One, to address some of the issues.
Sure.
But also, as has been outlined by the planning administrator, this is mainly establishing a process. And basically, for the planning commission to get 3 bites of the apple. They get bite when there's the preliminary approval or preliminary hearing, then there's the final approval, and then they are the appeal body. Now, the first 2 are non-binding, but the third one is binding, and that's under state law. That's what would be appealed to the courts if there was any objection, and that's by any party in interest. Well, I also want to point out as well, one of the speakers spoke about, there were basically three things, and this is from my back and forth with the attorney today, disagreeing about the whole process today. We have postponed the public hearing because there was inadequate notice given. So we will be having that. They also stated that this whole thing should have gone back to the Planning Commission. I believe, as the administrators outlined, this has been heard by the Planning Commission, but it's also, the Planning Commission is an advisory body with recommendations. It's up to you if you take them or don't take them, but you certainly can handle planning matters and everything. So, but this was initially heard previously last year. They've also had some complaints over the whole going through the adopting this matter tonight, which my feeling is we still will have a third reading. Nobody's rights are being affected. There will be a public hearing on this matter. There'll be the third reading. So with that, I just wanted to outline some of the objections. I feel that we are following a procedure. We're following procedures in public, transparent.
Okay, thank you. And then as a reminder, then the third reading and public hearing will be in our November meeting, not October. So that's even more time. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of giving second reading to ordinance 25-26001, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, next on the agenda, council, under new business, we just have now one piece of new business, and that is consideration of approval of tax millage rate for FY 25-26. We have our county auditor, Bill Gilchrist, with us tonight. I'll call on him to please talk to us.
Hope y'all doing good. Another year. Can't hardly believe it. What I want to start with is I want to go over the tax base this year a little bit. Obviously, vehicles and residential homes stealing all the thunder. And the rest of the base, utilities, slight little gain. That keeps moving on. And so that continues on now. And it's, you know, really benefiting the county. Obviously, when you can get into that, and you start thinking about services that you offer, and things going up. But, you know, another thing in this, you can see the value of the mill that's on your sheet, which is up 7.5%. That is the net gain for this year on 100% collection rate, that 116,600 value. And, you know, you don't hear people talk about this much, but some of this increase is people buying existing homes as well. You know, if I've got my house, my value is 300, somebody coming in paying $750. So that is probably percentage-wise, I don't know, but I would think it would be at least 1.5%, maybe a little more, which is really benefiting the county too. I mean, obviously it's something you got to stay on top of when you're getting these deeds through and everything's so busy. But, you know, you'd always like to see more business, and hopefully that's going to come because the county desperately needs that as well. Obviously, our current manufacturing base, not fee in lieu of, is deteriorating with depreciation. And that 116 plus, right now, when we get to this point next year, $42,000 of that value doesn't depreciate all the way out, but it depreciates. So when you start looking at what's coming on, what's been built, what's coming on, but, you know, then you got to get back to where you were and then move ahead, and that's that 7.5%. So very fortunate for that because depreciation is a large part of the game. So anyway, the other thing is fee in lieu of, which is vital to the county, schools, and all the levies. Last year, tax year 24 to the end of June 30th of this year, total to the tax base in Edgefield County, fee in lieu of, this is unbelievable, $1,804,547. So again, you get to the end of that, and we're right here where we are now going into 25, So on your fee in lieu of listings, the majority of that is personal property. So it's gonna depreciate. We have two additional listings. One is adding to their investment. It was already a fee in lieu of. The other is new. I think passed council in late '22. And so with those two additions this year, one adding to the investment fee in lieu of they've already had, and the other being a new one, it looks like the total's gonna go from 1.8 to almost $2.1 million. Now that is to the whole tax base. County operations, about 40,000 additional dollars than last year, which was about 408,000. So this is very vital to the county, and I hope that continues. One of these fees is still got some investing to do. The other's about topped out, I think. So, but it's just very vital for the county. Also, you know, the business end, commercial. Obviously, we'd like I said a minute ago, we'd like to have more of that, but hopefully it's gonna come, you know. So, okay, with that, I wanna get into the millage rates that council basically has been working on since the budget process. And you can see, you know, with EMS and with debt service, what's on the table basically is a 12.5 mil increase for EMS and 3.75 to debt service. And so obviously, you know, nobody wants to pay higher taxes. I don't. But the way this thing's been running the last few years, you know, you're gonna have to get this, you're gonna have to get on top of this. And I think it's the right thing to do, because this county is gonna continue to grow, and those services are gonna continue with fire, sheriff's department, recreation. It's just rolling right now, and y'all are very aware of that. So with that, initially in the spring, when I got this information together for David, the increase on a $300,000 residential home was gonna be about $195, and on a $300,000 non-residential home, it was gonna be about $292.50. One little diamond in the rough that we are gonna, council's using this year, is local option sales tax money, which has been increasing pretty good now with the economy of the state of South Carolina. And this money that comes back, it has to be used on tax bills. In '23, we used 1.8 million, okay? Because you kind of want to keep that balance intact once you take that money out, so you don't leave yourself short the next year. Last year was 2 million. Well, with the balance this year, the council's going to use 2.5 million. So what that's going to do is, that's going to drop that increase on a $300,000 residential home to $144. And on a $300,000 non-residential home, it's going to drop it from $292.50 to about $241, which, you know, it's still an increase, but still that is really going to help. And so we're very fortunate. There are some good things about inflation, not when you're buying, but money that's coming into the state, obviously what we're paying every day where it applies, people coming into the state, then you get on the other side and the cost of things, and, you know. So anyway, that is good, because I thought initially that, I didn't know you know, you could have that much money you were gonna be using, but it turned out it's there, and it's gonna leave you okay with the fund that's in escrow when we get to next year. And so, that's about it, unless y'all got any questions.
So, Bill, this 116,600 value of the mill, the 124.74 millage rate, would 100% support the budget the council passed back in
Yes,
June.
it will. It will.
Questions for Bill? Anybody?
Good job, Bill.
Appreciate it.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
y'all.
Thank you for the update.
Okay, council, let me ask the administrator, any discussion from your end of what we've heard?
I have nothing to add.
Council, any questions or comments on the millage rate? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the millage rate as it's been presented to us by the auditor? Dr. Kenyon makes a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Talbot seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, council, is our second public comment period. I'll ask the clerk if she can bring me up the second public comment period clipboard. And just like last time, these public comments are 4 minutes, you get a warning, and 5 minutes, you get a warning. And these are for all other comments that do not have something to do with the agenda. These are other public comments. Thank you. All right, I'll start with Ashley Williams. And it's, with all the speakers, I'll ask you, please tell us, where you live, please.
I live 2639 Edgefield Road, right next to the parcel of land almost that Blackston Custom Homes is proposing to put the RV park. I'm sure y'all remember me from last time. Previously, the proposal was denied on the preliminary, for the preliminary hearing on July the 10th. This was but it only put it on hold. That was on account of the planning director granting Blackston Custom Homes to request a 90-day extension to revise the application. Even though that is longer than the standard extension time frame, they were granted without any formal reasoning as to why. The planning director's decision undermined the authority of the Planning Commission and disregarded the community's overwhelming opposition all the way around. Under South Carolina Code S 629-340, the Planning Commission is empowered to administer land development regulations and approve or disapprove submitted plans and plats. Through careful review and development proposals, the Planning Commission is charged with protecting public health, safety, and welfare, setting a dangerous precedent when one individual can override the empowered commission. With that being said, today I'm not necessarily here on that aspect. I'm going to address a little deeper concern to me personally regarding the ethics and the accountability in regards with the foundation of trust between the government and the people in which it serves. This trust is built on 3 pillars: full transparency, impartiality, and clear separation between public duty and private interest. If those pillars are compromised, even by the appearance of impropriety, integrity of the institutions begin to erode. When a planning director also serves actively on the Economic Development Committee, the County Transportation Committee, previously the Land Management Ordinance Committee, also known as the LMO, especially it gives the perception of impaired objectivity to the citizens anyways, especially when the owner of or the immediate family member of the owner of Blackston Custom Homes served on at least 2 of these committees simultaneously with the planning director. Now please don't misunderstand me. I'm not accusing or questioning the dedication or credibility of the planning director by any means. Simply a perception of possibly a conflict of interest that requires immediate attention, basically. The importance of these roles to the community is drastic. We all know that. For example, the planning director makes the future decisions regarding the zoning and development for the good of the public interest. The Economic Development Committee looks towards the investments, the profitability of the development, and whatnot. They completely coincide. According to South Carolina Code S 8-13700, when a public official, employee, or member of a public body is faced with a matter in which they, their family, or a closely associated business has an economic interest, it is necessary for that individual to recuse themselves from voting, deliberating, or taking any official action in regards with that matter. Edgefield County's own governance standards echo this principle, requiring that all officials act in the public interest and avoid any appearance of an impropriety. This is also maintained by the Muni Code within the County Code of Ordinances, which reinforces the expectation that a public service, someone in the public service must be free of any kind of favoritism and or self-serving. So I'm asking the council to consider not only the legal compliance in regards with the South Carolina Ethics Commission, but if Mr. Hart Doc Clark refuses to recuse himself despite the clear perception of the conflict of interest in regards with the citizens, it risks creating an ethical situation that could divide our community, pitting residences against their own government in a battle over the ethical standards and transparency on account of the dual roles that intersect and overlap with the project specifically linking to the developer or their immediate family who also served on the same committees with them. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you. Jeff Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say one brief follow-up to Mr. Cadell's clarification on the process and explanation of shifting the public comment period from the initial part to after DOT and environmental services. And I think there's an advantage to having that comment, especially in my very brief experience so far, of having that public comment before it goes to DOT and before it goes to environmental services. Because this is how, the public can find out about this and say, hey, environmental services, you realize where all this wastewater is going to go. And DOT, you realize there's a blind hill right there and 100 yards, and there's going to be trailers sitting out in the middle of it on the downside of this blind hill. And DOT says, oh, well, we didn't look at that. So by shifting it, it's not just that we're simplifying the process, we're also kind of shifting the part where the public has a say until after the point where the public can do anything about it. Because I think a lot of our ordinances, seems to me in some of these cases, are not clear enough. And so then you get to the point where it's like, oh, everything's rubber stamped. And this gives the public an opportunity to have a say before the only parts where, where we're most likely to get some action with DOT and with environmental services, because a lot of those things get rubber stamped if there aren't a bunch of citizens going, hey, wait a sec, can you look at this? So that was my comment. I just wanted to clarify that I don't see it as just shifting from moving the public comment and public hearing to the appropriate place, but especially in lieu, in regards to the fact that our ordinances don't seem to be standing up to some of these things, that the public can have a chance to say something before it's too late. Everything's rubber stamped, and then it's like, oh, well, our hands are tied. We can't do anything about it.
Thank you. Barry Hellenberg?
I wanted to clarify my earlier comments about a person being told that they are not allowed to speak. I want to make the record clear regarding that comment. Mr. Marine stated that he told the attorney that she had to speak only to him, and that is not correct. He sent an email to that attorney with instructions to tell Mr. Diedrichson not to speak directly to the council and the commission. And here's the email. Ms. Poole, an Edgefield County Council member, has received the following communication from Randy, the Horse Creek Nature Preserve. Hello, fill in the blank. Our attorney would like to speak with you if at all possible. Her name is Emily Poole, and her number is, and then phone number. Like I was 2 days ago, I'm still the Edgefield County attorney. In the future, send all communications and requests to my clients, including the Planning Commission and the council members and professional staff through my office. Inform Mr. Diedrichson to send any communication with the county or county council members comes through my office. Sounds to me like he can't talk to anybody but Mr. Marine.
He has representation, so what I was saying is if he has an attorney representing him, he needs to talk to his attorney, and the attorneys will talk, and they'll relay things on to you. But if he's represented by Ms. Poole, he needs to be talking to Ms. Poole.
If a person has an attorney, does that mean that they're not allowed to speak on their own behalf?
Well, they have the attorney to speak on their behalf.
Are they not allowed to speak on their own behalf?
It depends if it's a matter that's potential litigation. I don't know why she's calling, why he's calling. So out of abundance of caution, I said, deal through your attorney.
It's pretty clear when it says send all communications and requests through his office. That he was afraid to say anything to anybody or to sign up to
He can talk to
speak.
his attorney.
That's not the point, exactly.
He doesn't have an attorney.
The attorney is.
We're not going to debate this tonight. Do you have anything else to say?
No, sir.
Okay, please sit down. Thank you. All right, Ian, we're done, right, Mr. Attorney?
Yes.
Okay. All right, council, that ends the public comment period. There's no one else who has signed up, so we will close that and move to reports from council members. So does any council member have a report tonight?
I'd like to share on behalf of, of Mr. Albert and myself. We attended a COG meeting last Monday, and we always seem to learn a lot of stuff there. So we had a good turnout, and we had a presentation, and it involved, it's interesting that Bill would speak about the money coming in, the people coming in to South Carolina. We had a presentation that showed there are 70,000 jobs to fill in South Carolina. And the presentation, the presenter went on to say how we are very unique, that most states are not having the problem to have to fill jobs, that they're not having this problem, and went on to say that everyone, we're the top growing state. Everyone's coming here. They're all coming here, and we still can't fill these jobs. So I just think that that's something that we need to be aware of as a county as we go forward. But we found that extremely, I personally found that very interesting. And as far as we go against the national averages, we are doing much better with unemployment. We're basically considered, everybody that wants to have a job has a job in South Carolina. And I know these are things that Will has shared with us before, but it was interesting to hear that again and shared. And also, we have an opportunity to share the things that are going on in our county, and we were called upon to share things in Edgefield County, and we shared about our rec programs. And it was interesting because everyone seemed quite shocked that we do camps and things like that. It was very enlightening to see that that these other counties, many of whom are much bigger than our own, are not doing these initiatives and not expanding in the way that we are. Again, we talked about this before. I think it's a quality of life. I think we have, we said a long time ago that was one of our things we wanted to focus on. I think we've done well. We got some really positive feedback on all of that as well. So just wanted to bring those things that we heard and spoke and shared with COG.
Thank you. Anything?
I would like to publicly congratulate our administrator, who just recently got certified in CPESCI, which stands for Certified Professional Erosion and Sediment Control Inspector. And why this is so important, a county this size, we have to wear many hats in this county, our employees do. And by David getting recertified, he's going to be able to save us thousands and thousands of dollars on these inspections versus going out and getting them contracted out. And so I think the latest one that we were going to contract out was going to be $36,000. So now David can go climb up into pipes and inspect it, and we can save all that money. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Okay, then we'll go to the county administrator's report.
Thank you. Just as a little bit of information, I spent 20 years in North Augusta over the Roads and Bridges Department, so I spent probably a full day every week underground in pipes. It's very peaceful there. So I know we've gotten a lot of interest about the Edgefield County Library in town. We've let everyone know over the last couple of months that we had an asbestos removal and asbestos abatement coming up. Well, that has taken place. That was in the tile flooring of the library. All the asbestos has been removed from that area, and the contractor will move in to install a new subfloor and new carpet in the library. Our Roads and Bridges Department will come in, put all the shelving back up, and as soon as the books get reinstalled, we anticipate the library reopening around the 1st of October, if not a little before that. So we're very excited about that. That was long overdue. We talked about the EMS millage, just to update council and the public. In EMS, we expanded our QRV, which is an SUV, a quick response vehicle coverage, from 12 hours to 24 hours a day on July 1st. By January 1st, we intend to add a 4th ambulance during daytime hours. Of course, that will go to 24 hours once we have a new station to house staff. We have also received an opioid grant of about $170,000. You may know or remember that we approved, I think, 3 settlements during the last council meeting. So we are putting that money to use. It funds a vehicle, it funds an EMS employee to do public education and outreach, to respond to overdoses, and then to follow up with those people afterwards to try to reduce this happening again. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the administrator, from council? Okay, hearing none, thank you. Let's see, my comments very brief. Just wanted to tell council that next month we'll take up the self-memorial lease agreement that we've been talking about. It'll be coming to council this week to review. We'll have a lot more to cover in the next several months, as you've kind of heard tonight, with different topics. So council, there's nothing else on the agenda. I'd be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ms. Ireland makes the motion and Mr. Talbot seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Appreciate everybody being here tonight.